That's how bad the spikes are. Yesterday, 21 states said they had increasing COVID, 14 the new highs. Today, 23 states, 15 states hit a new high. We've seen these numbers increase before. We've been here. This is deja vu. We have to be aware and we have to be alert. You look at what's happening to these states. They reopen and then the number goes up, which is common sense on one level. The number came down because you closed everything down. When you reopen and you increase activity, don't be surprised when the infection rate goes up. Unless you were very smart and disciplined about the way you reopened. That is the whole difference here. But the states that are having trouble reopened, and everybody wanted to reopen fast. There were protests, there was reopen fast, everything is fine. I had one person on the street tell me, I can't see the virus. Can you see the virus? There is no virus. I mean, people had all sorts of theories. States that have reopened too quickly or uncontrolled are now starting to close down. So, we are the exact opposite. Since we've reopened, the number has continued to go down. Believe it or not, we reopen, it continues to go down because we've been disciplined in our reopening. And that's what we have to continue to do. This is a website where the founders of Instagram now track the rate of transmission of states across the nation. New York State, the lowest rate of transmission, meaning the virus is spreading at the lowest rate in the state of New York, of every state in America. That is incredible. We were the #1 state in terms of infection, #1 in the nation, #1 on the globe per capita. And now we're the last state in terms of rate of transmission. That is because New Yorkers stepped up, they were smart, they were disciplined, they did what they had to do, and we have to stay there. We have to stay there. Now is no time to forget what got us here. We have to stay smart. On the civil unrest, I said from day one that I stand with the protesters. I believe this is the moment to put forth a real federal reform justice agenda. Yes, we have to do criminal justice. Yes, we have to do police. The injustices are more fundamental than that, in truth. Let's talk about education equality, because we have two education systems, one for the rich and one for the poor, and that is true. And you want to talk about justice, opportunity for all. Why does one child who happens to be born to a poor family have a second-rate education to children who are born in wealthier communities? Why do you still have child poverty in this nation? How do you justify that? The affordable housing need is all across the country because the federal government went out of the affordable housing business. I was the former housing secretary for the federal government. It was the one responsibility the federal government used to undertake. It was never states and cities. Public housing was federal. Section 8 certificates were federal. Section 8 project-based was federal. Federal Housing Administration, FHA, that was federal. They just ended that business. And then you wonder why we have an affordable housing crisis. And criminal justice reform should be done on a national level. And the House has been very aggressive on reform, the Congress, and I applaud them for it. But New York State is the progressive capital. We never sit back and say just what the nation should do. We show the nation what it should do. We lead by example. And we lead by getting it done. We are a state of action. And that's us at our best. A great member of the New York State Assembly, who then went on to the Congress, a great pioneer, Shirley Chisholm. You don't make progress by standing on the sidelines. You make progress by implementing ideas, getting things done, action, results, not just talking, not just advocating, but actually articulating your ideas and then getting action done so you change reality for people. We've gotten to a place where people think talking is enough. Talking is not enough. Being angry is not enough. Being emotional is not enough. How do you transition that to action and change and results? And that's what we're doing here today. The New York State Legislature has quickly passed the most aggressive reforms in the nation. I'm going to sign those bills in a moment. 50A reforms, so there's transparency. We're banning chokeholds. Attorney General Special Prosecutor, ending false race-based 9/11 reports. I want to applaud the leaders who have done great work. These are tough times to be in government. There's a lot of issues, a lot of crises, a lot of demands, and they got it done, and they got it done quickly. I want to thank the bill sponsors who have done a great job and actually came to resolution, and I want to applaud them. I also want to applaud the advocates who have been fighting for this for years. I can't tell you how many meetings I've had, how many rallies they put on, how many events Reverend Sharpton put on, keeping the message out there, insisting, advocating, protesting, demonstrating, which results in today and the change we're making today. So I want to applaud all the mothers, especially Gwen Carr, Valerie Bell, and again, Reverend Sharpton for his great work on this. Moving forward, there is still more to do, and we're going to do it in the state of New York. The truth is this: police reform is long overdue, and Mr. Floyd's murder is just the most recent murder. This is not just about Mr. Floyd's murder. It's about being here before, many, many times before. It is about a long list that has been all across this country that always makes the same point: injustice against minorities in America by the criminal justice system. And today is about enough is enough. It's about Fannie Lou Hamer. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. How many times do you have to see the same case before you do something? How many times? This was Eric Garner. This was Abner Louima. It was Amadou Diallo. Same case over and over and over, and still no change. And Mr. Floyd's murder, God bless this country for standing up and saying enough is enough. I respect them. But it goes back, certainly, to Rodney King in modern times. And the truth is, it goes back to Dr. Martin Luther King, 1968. It is systemic discrimination and injustice in this nation. That's what it is. That's what today is about. And the answer, there is no quick fix to this. There is no, well, stop tear gas. Well, change the uniforms. That's not what this is about, my friends. And it would be a mistake if we went down that path. This is systemic reform of police departments. This is sitting down and taking a look at exactly what they do and have been doing and looking at it through a new lens of reform and reinvention. Because this has been 40, 50 years in the making. Providing police with military equipment, increasing the number of police, goes back to the 90s and the crime bills. Looking at the population explosion in our prisons. This was a long time coming. And this is not about a press release that's going to solve it. The way we really solve this is we say to every police agency in this state, I believe it should happen in the nation, sit down at the table with the local community, address these issues, get to the root of these issues, get a plan, pass that plan by your local government, and if you don't, you're not going to get any additional state funds, period. We're not going to fund police agencies in this state that do not look at what has been happening, come to terms with it, and reform themselves. We're not going to be, as a state government, subsidizing improper police tactics. We're not doing it. And this is how we're going to do it. I'm going to sign an executive order today. We'll require local governments and police departments all across the state, about 500, to develop a plan that reinvents and modernizes police strategies and programs in their community. They must formulate a plan. They have to address the use of force by police officers, crowd management, community policing, bias awareness, de-escalation, restorative justice, community-based outreach. They have to have a transparent citizen complaint disposition procedure. So if you make a complaint, it's not just yelling out the window. You find out what happened to that complaint. They should talk about appropriate equipment, what's not appropriate equipment, and any other issue that that community believes is relevant. That discussion has to happen with the community participants in the room. That plan then has to be enacted into every city, every county. It has to be done by April 1. If it's not done by April 1, and if it's not passed, they're not going to be eligible for state funding, period. And look, it's simple. This is something that has to be done anyway, because what we know is certainly true, is there is no trust between the community and the police. That's what the protests have said. There's no trust. And if there is no trust, the relationship doesn't work. If there's no trust, the police can't effectively police. If there's no trust, the community is not going to allow the police to police. And there is no trust, or there is a breach of the trust, and that has to be restored and repaired. And the only way to do it is to get in a room, get to the table, let everyone say their piece, and let's figure it out community by community all across this state. It will be statewide. No other state has done it, but New York State will lead the way, because New York is New York, tough, smart, united, disciplined, and loving. With that, let me turn it over to our great Senate leader. I thank Andrea Stewart-Cousins very much for her leadership. I know we've worked long and hard over this past week. We've been worked long and hard for a long time, but especially this past week, and it turned out great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Senate Leader.
Thank you so much, Governor, and thank you for your leadership. I'm certainly so happy to be here at this moment, at this historic moment, and to share this with my colleague and partner in the Assembly, Speaker Hastie, and certainly to be always in the presence of Reverend Sharpton, who, you know, is an icon for all of us in this movement, as